from my own personal experience, having a podcast with a person that I thought was very critical of the state of Israel. I'm talking about Ethan Klein. We had a podcast together called Leftovers, and the podcast, of course, unceremoniously ended after October 7. We did like 2 episodes after that, and then the podcast ended. And the reasons as to why it ended is, well, at the time I thought it was because, Ethan doesn't want to talk about politics any longer. But instead, it turned into this whole thing where he spent the remainder of the past 17 months actively coming after me and increasing the pressure valve, and also even successfully deplatforming a couple smaller pro-Palestinian voices, pro-Palestinian content creators. The question I have is there any point where you can just recover that?
Are you saying do you think he's ever going to come back?
Is there any way that anyone can personally convince this person that they've lost their mind a little bit?
I guess what I would say is I have to believe that the answer to that is yes, because I'm somebody who went through a political transformation. It took me many years. It took a lot of people talking to me, turning things over with me, and people did move me. I always say when I do these screenings on campuses, you never know if the fight that you had with someone, or the 3-hour getting into it where they left and you were like, damn, that person's never going to change. You never know that that conversation might be sitting in a person's head and really percolating, and months later or even years later, they might come back and be like, that thing that you said really, really stuck with me. I mean, that's what the work of political transformation is. So that's one. I think thing two is I do think that we are going to see in many years from now a lot of people who defended what has been going on for the last year and a half who are going to wake up and have epiphanies. It's going to be because more reports come out. I mean, it's kind of horrifying to think about everything we know about what's happened in Gaza over the last year and a half. There are going to be more reports that come out of people who have, when people are finally able to go, there's so much more. We just know that there's so much more that's going to come out. And I think that, of course, there are going to be people who are going to have breaking moments. There is going to be something that's going to make them flip. I think a lot of people right now who are out there in public, have things gnawing at them. You listen to what they're saying, it doesn't all make sense, right? I think the question of what kind of accountability there should be for people like that, for somebody with a public platform who's done incredible harm, what kind of actual repair they have to make, that's a whole other conversation to have. But I just have no doubt that there are going to be people who are, there's that new book. I haven't gotten to read it yet, but there's that new book, one day everybody's going to be against this, right? Yeah. I mean, we're already seeing now, Trump all of a sudden says, he's going to build these villas in Gaza. And all of a sudden people are like, this is the most horrible idea I've ever heard of in my life, as if they haven't been witnessing an ethnic cleansing campaign underway for the last year and a half. So I think even just the fact that Trump is going to be stamping a lot of this means that you're going to have more and more people coming out and being willing to say things. Somebody like that at this point has a personal stake in not changing, because he's getting a lot of affirmation from his platform and so that's where you have to also be this person's career is now tied to not changing his mind. But there are a lot of people who listen to him who I think are worth speaking to and are worth
that's
trying.
Exactly perfect. You described it perfectly.